And we're back. This is episode 2 of United in the Stormwind card reviews. I've got Taco with me again. Say hello.
Hello?
Very short, very concise. They are dumping cards out on us. We've got 18 cards today, and they are all. Most of them are pretty interesting. Would you agree with that, Taco?
Yeah, I think they're very flavorful.
It's pretty
And
exciting this
also
time.
very well designed. I'll get into what I
Hmm.
mean by well designed later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's gonna be a lot of editing I'm gonna have to do. Hopefully, it's quick. But we've waited a long time for these cards. It's been like weeks, maybe like 2-3 weeks since we've gotten our last card. And strangely enough, they revealed one card ahead of the others, and that was this card right here. Touch of the Nathrazim was released like 3, maybe 4 days ahead of the other cards. Um, and I was very confused because it's not really that exciting, but we had to talk about this for like 4 days, which was kind of sad. But yeah, 1 mana Warlock card. It's a shadow card, and that is relevant for Warlock.
Mhm.
Touch of the Nathrazim. Deal 2 damage to a minion. If it dies, restore 4 health to your hero. Um, I think this card is okay. It's really tough to rate Warlock cards since Warlock's been in such a it's been such a painful position in the meta for so long. But this is kind of like another copy of Drain Soul, which is a very good card for Warlock. I think this one is worse, even though it is 1 mana less than Drain Soul, because it is conditional whether it heals you or not. So the minion you're targeting has to die for you to heal for, and that is a really big number to heal for 1 mana, 4 health. But not always healing for that, and dealing more specifically, dealing 2 damage only is a little shady to me. I'm not positive that 2 health is a good breakpoint to have in this era where the devs love to print 1/3s for, to push archetypes and stuff like that. What do you think?
Yeah, the breakpoint is I think one is okay because you can play it after a hysteria on on turn 5. Maybe that cleans something up. You had that option, not saying that's always gonna work. Um, but it's just an okay card. I think you play it in Control Warlock.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty surprised if it didn't see play because it's removal and healing, which is something that fits the archetype pretty
Hmm.
well. It's a shadow spell. It works with Tamsin.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
Tamsin. Yeah, yeah. I literally mentioned that and forgot to bring her up. But I think
and
it's
two
really just cheap
damage.
removal, is what it is.
Yeah, it's cheap. It's okay.
Cheap removal tends to be better, but this is a little weird to me.
Like in
And
terms of boring cards of how they carry, like we had the 1 mana 1/3 for Shaman and the 3 mana 2/3 that drew 2 cards. Well, that was much of a carry, but just look at the 1 mana 1/3 and what that means to that archetype
mhm,
is that brought life to a aggressive Shaman deck.
yeah,
This is not like I mean that I would say would be an okay card. This is also an okay card, but it probably doesn't breathe much life into whatever
yeah,
Control Warlock is. They probably need something more, but it's not this card's fault for being bad. Like
yeah.
this is just what it is.
It's not what Warlock is missing right now. Like their control archetype isn't failing because it's lacking healing. It's really just failing because it doesn't really play anything proactively. And this isn't proactive, so it's really not gonna cause control Warlock to see play. But I mean, this is just a neat support card for it. I think I have one more thing to say about it. Oh yeah, the quest. So yeah, this does heal you for your quest Warlock, but I don't think that this is what you're looking for either in that quest. You're looking for minions in that quest. Just anything to play to help you progress the quest while also like just keeping yourself alive. Um, healing is not a way to do that, but it is something to help you. But yeah, let's move on. Let's not spend too much time on this card. It was not really that exciting, and we somehow managed to stretch it out and some discussion about it. The next card is I'm just gonna go through all the classes, all the cards of the class since we're here. Um, yeah, this is yours, Taco.
All right, Demonic Assault, deal 3 damage, summon 2/1/3 Voidwalkers with taunt. I didn't read the 4 mana card by
4
the
mana.
way. So 4 mana, yeah, forgot this. It's a spell. Yeah, I didn't read this correctly. I thought it was like take 3 damage when I first read it, and I was like, wow, this is horrible.
Oh,
But
that'd be
no,
bad.
it's It's like, yeah, it's deal 3 damage, so you kill something, or you self damage to like, I don't for whatever, do some warlock things.
for the quest.
That's a very fringe case. Usually you're removing something or you're bursting for lethal. And then on top of that, you get like 2/6 in stats. It's pretty good. I think this is this is exciting, right? Like this gives them doesn't really give control warlock um this the like the threat that they need, but it does what the previous card does, but a lot better because 3 damage is way better removal, and you have something to play that they can't avoid because it has taunt, so they have to do something about it. Um,
Good,
yeah,
okay, or
this
bad?
is this. I would say this is good, and
Good.
even in Zoo, which doesn't exist at the
Yeah.
moment, you play it as well. I think you just play this in every warlock.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this is a good card. Good, strictly good. Um, and a lot of people really don't like this card. They think it's very weak because they think that the stats aren't high enough or the 3 damage isn't impactful enough. But I think the comparison I made when I was addressed with that was I made a reference to Righteous Protector, which looks completely strange to make a reference to, but Righteous Protector is one of the strongest 1-drops of all time. And the reason why it's strong is not because it's a 1-mana 1/1, which is understated. It's because it soaks up 2 actions from your opponent, therefore protecting maybe some of the more important minions you developed behind it. And Demonic Assault is 4 mana, so it's 3 more mana. But not only does it develop 2 taunts, therefore declining those two, like absorbing 2 actions, but it also removes something. So the turn you play it, it's most likely going to absorb 3 actions. So you're not only removing a minion, the 1 action, you're also developing taunts to protect your face, which if you absorb enough of those actions, your opponent is not going to be able to touch your face, and not only that, they'll probably have to keep developing, maybe into a bigger board clear that you can play on them. This is for Control Warlock. I'm pretty sure Zoo Warlock would be also interested in running this because it is kind of like a Righteous Protector for Zoo Warlock. Maybe you have a Dark Lair that you're interested in protecting. You play Dark Lair, it somehow sticks. Then you play Demonic Assault. Then you can protect your Dark Lair with 2 Voidwalkers. Voidwalkers are really good cards. They're way above 1 mana's worth of mana. They're way above 1 mana in terms of value. So I think this card is pretty solid. I also drew comparisons to Flanking Strike, and Saronite Chain Gang is the other comparison I drew to. So these are all good cards across history. Certainly, the cards that I mentioned come from eras before, but this is, I believe, a stronger version of Flanking Strike and Saronite Chain Gang. So I think that this card is just good.
Yeah, and in terms of an aggressive strategy, it's deal 3 damage, and that goes face.
Mm-hmm.
So
Burn.
that's even additional reason to play this in aggressive deck.
Yeah. And also these Voidwalkers, you're going semi-wide with these Voidwalkers, so things like Whispering Wood, not Whispering Woods, Wicked Whispers, my bad. Wicked Whispers is going to benefit from this. So there's synergy here, just unsure, and this Warlock will definitely run this, but unsure how many Warlocks will be interested in running this. Okay, let's move on to the next card. This card
Yep.
was actually just revealed like a few hours ago. Where is it? So actually, it's revealed a few hours ago. Shady Bartender. This is a 5-mana tradable card. It's a 5-mana 4/4 for Warlock, and it's tradable. Battlecry, give your demons +2/+2. Right away, I'm going to give this card an OK rating, and that might seem a little strange because there's honestly not a lot of demon support in our current pool of cards that we've been revealed and currently possessed in Standard. So it's really weird that I give this an OK rating, but I think the effect is just simply too strong to ignore. When I saw this, I drew comparisons to Arbor Up,
Yep.
which is a really strong Druid card, and there's also some comparisons to be drawn here to Quartermaster, which is a card that's still seeing play in Wild. Both of those cards are, well, for in Quartermaster's case, it's easier to land the buff that Quartermaster gives because Odd Paladin spams Silverhand tokens, and for Arbor Up, it's easier to land that because it just it has no condition, it just lands on all minions. But this is a really strong buff that you are giving to your demons. It's just we don't really have ways to spam demons onto the board. So this card probably is currently not seeing any play, and I predict it will not see play unless we get more support. But this card is really strong. It's a really strong card for the future. It's a really strong card if we get any demon spam at all. Um, so I'm giving this an okay, and I'm really hopeful for it. I'm really hoping that we see some kind of support for this. Anything.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is well, first of all, I think this is okay. But if Zoo Warlock was a thing, this is a good card. And one of the reasons why it's good or on the same tier as Arbor Up. Arbor Up obviously is a better card is the fact that it's tradable. This is never a 5 mana 4/4. Right. The worst case that this card is because it's tradable, is that it's 1 mana draw one. And then when it actually does something, it's 5 mana 4/4 and then gives your whole board +2/+2. Maybe it pushes lethal or it gives you a sticky board.
Yeah,
So that tradable on this is like really powerful because it will never be bad.
that is such a
Because
good
when it
point.
is bad, you trade it away.
That
And
is
that
such
just
a good
makes this
point. That is such a beautiful point, actually. This is a really well designed tradable card, I think.
but unfortunately there's no demon
Yeah,
Zoolock, so
unfortunately, I'm
can't
really
trade
hopeful
them
for
yet.
this. It's so exciting to see. This is the type of card you want to see as a Warlock main, I think, because it gives you hope for the future. And this also is, strangely enough, this is also the type of card that you don't want to see as a Warlock main because it doesn't support the quest at all. So the quest is getting stranded a little bit, just a little bit. Um, yeah, weird, really weird to see Warlock getting pulled in yet another direction, but I don't know what they're doing with Warlock. We'll see. Okay, next card. This is a card that confused me a bit because this is Taco's card. He picked it to review this week. I'm very confused. I
Yep.
thought he would pick another card, but okay,
Park Panther.
go.
Yeah. It's a 4 mana 4/4 Park Panther Rush. Whenever this attacks, give your hero +3 attack this turn.
It's a beast and
This
for
is a
Druid.
I think this is a surprisingly decent card, but I can't say it's good because I don't really know where it goes. But in a vacuum, this is very strong. So I'm gonna give this an okay rating. The reason I think it's strong is because, well, first 4 mana 4/4, right? You can do 2 damage as distributed as you want. You can do 7 damage. It does 7 damage to things on the board. So you can like kill 2 things on the board. You can kill something at 7 attack, or you can push lethal with that 3 extra attack. It's pretty versatile in what it is. And in the case that it doesn't die, your opponent has to kill it. They cannot leave this up. Because if they leave this up, you attack them, you attack again, you get another extra 3 attack. So this is like a deceptively annoying, powerful card. I don't know where it goes, but I read this and I was like, this seems bad. And I thought about it. And I was like, yeah, this is really
Hmm.
it's really interesting. I don't know where it goes, but if it did find a
Yeah,
home, it's a powerful card.
yeah. I tend to agree. You said it was okay. I think. Did you say
Yeah, I
that?
said it's yeah, I said it's okay. I don't think any of the current druid archetypes will play this.
Yeah, I agree. It's a reasonable card. It reminds me straight. First of all, it reminds me of Stormstrike. Um, so and Stormstrike is a really good card. So this card is reasonable. It's just really strange to see it in Druid. I think this card is okay as well. It's just really strange to see it in Druid because they like okay, Druid has two archetypes right now, really. It technically has three, but I think that Malagos Druid slash Anaconda Druid um, and Primordial Druid are kind of the same Druid archetype. They're both ramp style decks, decks that rely on overgrowth. And decks that rely on overgrowth tend to want to outscale needing Park Panther. Like they want to do bigger mana plays that are more swingy than Park Panther. And the other deck is Gibberling Druid, which is a spell based around a deck based around spells only. And this being a minion really doesn't fit in that idea. Um, in Primordial Druid specifically, also, they're interested in playing beasts that are 5 cost and under, and this is 4 cost, which does mean it's a little weaker than the other 5 cost beasts you may have. It's not as valuable in that deck, so it's really tough to find a home for Park Panther. But it is a reasonable card, and it could be set up for the future. I'm on okay, but I could be ready to call this bad, to be honest, because it is just really weird to fit this in anywhere.
If it wasn't a beast, it might have been a little bit better because you don't want your guardian animals pulling this. I think
Yeah,
guardian animals is five versus what is it? 5 or less?
it's 5 or
I
less. Yeah,
don't know. 5 or less. So you don't want it pulling the Park Panther because
yeah.
that's kind of a waste. But if Park Panther was just what it is, it's spot removal for Druid, which might be something you need just to stay alive.
I
I
also
think
really
it's
like
really good at controlling the board. But Yeah, it doesn't have a home.
I also just really like that it could go into an aggressive druid. If we ever get some kind of attack druid again, like Rostakon's Rumble's kind of big failure, this would have been an excellent card to have in Rostakon's Rumble. But yeah, we'll see what they do with this. I'm really confused, and I like the card, but I'm not very hopeful for it. Is kind of what I'm going for. Okay, next druid card is Best in Shell, a 6-mana druid spell. It's tradable as well. So tradable, summon two 2/7 turtles with taunt. So this is a 6-mana 4/14 worth of taunt. And I think that is just way too many stats of taunt for this card to be bad. It is a very large mana cost, so we could be thinking about Overgrowth. Overgrowth does take you to 7 mana, which is a little weird. Oh, I think this card is good, by the way. I think it's actually good. Um, it fits. I do think it fits into Gibberling Druid, and that sounds a little strange because Dribbling Druid is very low curving, and this would top the curve if it were included in Dribbling Druid. But it's tradable, which means it could be just 1 mana, draw 1. If it's just too much mana for you in the current situation, you just put it back in your deck, draw another card. Um, it's just so much taunt, and that is something that is very valuable in any druid that's trying to stay alive. So the slower druids, or for any druid that's trying to protect their more important, smaller minions. And that's the very accurate description of Dribbling Druid. So something that is very strong in Druid right now is being able to cast Solar Eclipse and then Arbor Up. And having things stick in that case is very important because then you get to push the Arbor Up damage right away. And Best in Shell is just so much stickiness for those decks. And so I can really see this doing extremely well as long as Arbor Up is in rotation with it. And also, for any defensive druids, this is a reminder. It's reminiscent of Spreading Plague. So I think that those are two. Those are just two reasons why I think Best in Shell is actually just a good card.
Yeah, I agree with the spreading plague analogy. This is the modern spreading plague because spreading plague was overtuned for what it did.
Hmm.
But if you made that a more fair card, but still a good card, it's going to look like this. And what spreading plague does is that it gives you the space and the time so that you can play your late game cards. And sometimes you buff the spreading plague tokens, which you could do with this with Arbor Up. It's a very good analogy to compare the two. And then this becomes a board and it becomes a threat. I was on the fence here of this is okay or good. I think it sees play in the same light that the 1 mana Warlock card that deals 2 sees play.
Touch.
And it is something that they need, but I don't know if this makes them good. If that makes that deck actually a good deck. So yeah, I can agree with you and say this is a good card.
Hmm.
But I'm more on the fence of good, okay.
Oh, you thought Touch of Nathrazim was good? I have you here as saying it was
I
okay.
said it's okay. I said it's
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
but I'm like, if that's okay, then this is also okay for the same reason that this is a survival tool. It's not really the win condition.
Wait, so do you think this is okay, or do you think this is good?
I'm going to lean that this is good for
Yeah,
the same reason because of Spreading Plague, of what Spreading Plague did for that deck, and because this feels similar, and Spreading Plague is a good card.
it definitely does read to be a better card for Druid than Touch reads for Warlock.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Hmm.
It's just like what it does for the archetype overall, like
It's a cool
in a
card.
shell. Like
And again, I
this is
like I
not.
like the fact that tradable is on this card. It is a higher mana card. These I think I said this last time when we were talking about tradable. I think I really like tradable on higher cost cards. Maybe there's some that are situational, and this is a really good example of it. So I like this a lot.
Because if you don't have the mana to play this, you trade it, you get
Yeah,
ramp.
toss them back.
Yep.
Kodo Mount, right?
Kodo Mount. Yep. This is a druid card. It is a spell, 4 mana. Give a minion +4/+2 in rush. When it dies, summon a Kodo. The Kodo that's summoned is a 4/2 with rush. That's a 3 mana card. In case you ever need to devolve it, it's good to know. Um, yeah,
Being Druid.
this is interesting because we had cards like this before. What am I thinking of? The Mummy,
Restless Mummy.
yeah, Reckless Mummy, where it kills 2 things. This is feels like it, not really quite the same because first it's a spell, so you need a minion on the board. and also the +2 defense that you put on it. The thing might not necessarily die, and if your opponent kills it on their turn, they can take your initiative away by killing the second thing, but then just spend extra resources. This is an okay card, I guess. It just doesn't belong in anything. It's very powerful. It's a very good arena card. I don't know what plays this. Uh, yeah, I don't really have much to say about this.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I could take them. I originally had it as okay as well because I thought possibly it could go into a dribbling druid. This definitely doesn't go into a primordial slash ramp druid.
Mhm.
Because they could for 4 mana they're giving something rush, but for 1 mana those exact same decks could give everything rush with animated broomstick. So it's really just whether or not this fits into a token druid or a dribbling druid idea. And I thought about it, and it's just not what you want to do when you stick a minion in that deck. When you stick a minion in that deck, you want to start thinking about, can we get more minions on the board, or can we like arbor up? Like, can we arbor up and start hitting face? So this is just too it's too defensive, I think, and it's just not high impact enough for 4 mana. Um, Also, for any other decks in the future that might be wondering about Kodo Mount, I think that Park Panther is a better card, and that's the main reason why I'm gonna rate this bad, is because Park Panther got printed right after it. Um, Park Panther is also able to remove 2 minions. It also is a 4 attack rush, and then you use your face to remove the other minion. But more importantly, it doesn't need you to have stuck a minion beforehand, and it doesn't need you to sacrifice that minion in order to get the second removal, which would be this Kodo. So I think that Park Panther really just put the nail in the coffin for this card.
Well, I think maybe there's a direction that Blizzard might be pushing, where you play both in some deck. We'll need to see more. Obviously, we'll need to see more, but maybe there's some like rush druid archetype that they could be pushing. In which case, you could play both.
I,
Um,
I find that really strange. I think we would
would
have to
it
be in
would
a really strange world where both see play. Would you agree that Park Panther is better?
it's better, but I don't think they're independent. I think you could play both if there is
Yeah.
a reason to.
No, like
It's not like you.
one. Yeah, one thing you could say when someone says a card is better is that you want redundancy, right? You want this effect is good, and you want, why not both, right? I'm not sure. We were already struggling to figure out where Park Panther landed, and so I think we would have an equal struggle with Kodamount. Kodamount is a spell, and so that actually makes Kodamount more likely to see play than Park Panther in this upcoming future, strictly because of Glowfly Swarm and Fungal Fortunes. Kodamount is more likely to see play. But if we're talking about just sheer quality, Park Panther is better, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
All right, let's move on. Okay, here's the Druid Legendary of the set. This is not the quest. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. All right, 8 mana, 5/5 Druid Legendary, Sheldress Moontree. Battlecry. The next 3 spells you draw are cast when drawn. And what that means is that they instantly cast at no mana cost to you, and then you draw the next card. Um, I do not know what this card is being printed for. It's supposed, it looks like a lot of mana cheat, but it is also an 8 mana card, and it's not really a threatening body. It doesn't have rush. It doesn't have taunt, so it's not really defensive either. So right away, we're gonna probably have to ramp into this. And the question when we ramp to an 8 mana card is this 8 mana card better than Guardian Animals? And I do not think that I would rather play this card than Guardian Animals. It's also not a spell, so it doesn't get tutored by Primordial Protector. It doesn't help Primordial Protector in any way. So why are we playing this card? And so I have to say that this card is bad.
Yeah, this is a this is like I'm gonna borrow something from the Vicious Syndicate podcast where they say this is like of what well designed is in the context of Control Warlock, right? This is well designed because people are gonna want to play it, they're gonna lose games with it, but they're gonna try to figure out what does this actually like, how do I win with this? Or what is the cool combo I can pull with this?
Yeah.
Because you are cheating a lot of stuff with this. I expect us to see a lot of play initially because it's really interesting, especially in the wild format where there's more possibilities what this can do. But it's bad because one, I'm not seeing what that end game win condition is. I mean, there's some crazy things you can do. Maybe you pull Kelt and reorder. None of them are actually good. Like they either don't win you the game, or they're just so slow, and they're like a 1% chance that it actually does win you the game. So there's no way. I just don't think this is good.
Yeah, we have to see a lot more support for this. A lot of spells being printed. Like it's just not what we want right now. So yeah, let's move on. Let's keep this one short. Okay. Is you?
All right. What are we? We're doing the Rat King, so we're not on Hunter now. Rat King is a 5 mana 5/5 rush. Death Rattle go dormant, and it revives itself after 5 friendly minions die. I mean, this is also like one of those well-designed things that I think people try out. I don't know exactly what it does in the context of a competitive a game because 5 friendly minions die, and there's no Unleash the Hounds. There's no real token hunter thing that I can think of where you can consistently do that. But when you do revive it, it's a 5/5 rush. It doesn't even like it's is that really that impactful? Revive 5, go through all that trouble for your board to die, have this come back, and then I don't know what you're doing with this. It's I think this is just a bad card. Very interesting, well designed that people are gonna try it. I don't think it's really gonna do anything, but people are gonna continue wanting to play it because it seems like a really fun card.
I agree. I think it's a bad card as well. Um, it is a good body, just at baseline. A 5 mana 5/5 with rush is decent. Um, but it is a hunter card, and that's I think what puts a nail in the coffin for this card. Because hunter doesn't really have token synergies. You did mention Unleash the Hounds getting already rotated. It looks like they're going to print more token support for hunter because of the next card that we're going to review in a bit. But when you put things on board, when you put a lot of tokens on board as hunter, you're very interested in hitting the opponent in the face because your hero power really incentivizes you to do that because it keeps dealing damage. And if you deal enough damage to the opponent, they die and you win. Um, so it's just tough to really fit this into hunter comfortably because like this. You don't want to trade your minions. So the way this goes undormant is when your opponent will clear the minions for you, and then this comes out as a 5 mana 5/5. But you can't really abuse the rush because it's your opponent's turn. So it's kind of just like a free a free 5/5 after you get board wiped, kind of like that's the idea that we should be thinking of for the Rat King, and that's not really what Hunter really wants. It just and this doesn't go face the turn that you play it. So like the comparison I wanted to draw right away is why is this better than Trampling Rhino? It's not. It also ruins your Scavenger's Ingenuity draws because it's a beast. And it adds another beast to your Warsong Wrangler pool. And you do have, I mean, it does discover one of 3 cards, so and you only have 2 beasts right now in Hunter with Wolpertinger and Trampling Rhino. So the Rat King could be your 3rd beast, and that's okay. But I think that Face Hunter will just look to not run the Rat King, and we don't have any other
Yeah.
hunters, so
Yeah, I mean there is Death Rattle Hunter support
oh yeah,
that we had in the past, but this is not strong enough to make that relevant.
yeah, it's
Like you
probably
probably
one of the
play
better
some
Death
Death Rattle
Rattles.
Hunter. Yeah, like yeah, there's also better Death Rattles, or maybe you still play this in a Death Rattle, but that's not
Oh
really
no,
a
I think this
concern.
is one
We'll
of the
have
better Death Rattles for Hunter,
oh, better. Yeah, I agree.
but it's not. It's
And
still
also
not gonna
5 is a
push it.
lot. Yeah. And like even the Death Rattle itself, like 5 friendly minions is a lot. You're gonna need some nesting of your minions, like Teacher's Pet. That's what I mean by nesting,
Oh,
where
nesting, yeah,
the
like
Teacher's
stickiness.
Pet dies, something comes back, right? Like a nesting doll.
Yeah,
You're gonna
really
do
weird.
stuff like that. I think it's just yeah, it's weird, not good.
So yeah, this is the card that I was talking about before when we were reviewing the Rat King. 6 mana Hunter spell, Rats of Extraordinary Size, very hilarious name. Um, the effect is to summon 7/1/1 rats, and any that don't fit on the board go to your hand with +4/+4. So what this does, and the rats are actually just vanilla 1 mana 1/1s. They're all beasts, of course. I'm not that that's relevant in Hunter right now, but they're all beasts, vanilla 1/1s, and the ones that get added to your hand that can't fit on your board are 1 mana 5/5s. So it does give you some gas if you don't have space on the board for them, but I think this card is bad. And the comparison I want to draw up right away is Swarm of Locusts, also a hunter card, a 6 mana hunter card that summons 7/1/1 rushes. Or either that or six, I forget how many exactly, but it gave you a bunch of 1 mana 1/1 rushes, and you got to impact the board right away. Summoning a full board of 1/1s is okay. It actually is a really decent effect, but it's actually this is just a lot of mana to pay for it. 6 mana is a lot of mana. This card doesn't go face. It really is just a value card, kind of. It's kind of weird because it could just be a value card, but it also could be a an attempt at a tempo play, but summoning a bunch of 1/1s is very easy to clear. There's a lot of AoE clears that do. Well, I mean, any AoE clear does 1 damage at least. So these just kind of get like just knocked off the board easily.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a bad card. It's a rat card, so it's kind of support for the Rat King, but that's probably not really going to be a thing. It's a really interesting card because of what it does, of how this card is worded. It never really does nothing. Because if you have a board, you probably want value, and if you have
Yeah,
like you don't have a board as a hunter, you want a board. But even in like the case where it makes the biggest board, 6 mana summon 7/1/1s is not really good. So you probably want like a mixture of like having some things on the board and then getting some 1/1s, but at the same time getting those 5/5s. I think those 5/5s are actually more valuable than the 1/1s you put into
for
play
sure,
because
for
one
sure.
mana 5/5s are huge, but you don't really want to skip your whole turn just generating a bunch of 5/5s and then like falling behind the next turn.
Yeah,
Um,
the 5/5s are really
interesting
good.
card.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The 5/5s are really good, but it requires you to already have had a board, and that's what I call, that's obviously a position in which you are already winning. So this is a when this card is at its best, it's a win more card, and at its worst, it's a pretty bad card. So it's usually a red flag that this card isn't good.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to Priest. This is yours.
Seek Guidance. This is the Priest quest line. Um, It is a quest line, so you play a 2, 3, and 4 cost card to complete the first stage. And the reward is you discover a card from your deck. Then it upgrades to the second stage where you play a 5 and 6 mana card. You need to discover a card from your deck again. And then the last stage is you play a 7 and 8 cost card and you summon Zyrella, or you get Zyrella to Sanctified, which is a 5 mana 7/7 with time. And when you play Zyrella, it shuffles the Purified Shard into your deck, which is a 10 mana card that destroys the enemy.
That's a lot
That's
of
a
words.
lot.
It's a lot of
That's a lot
explanation.
of work. Yeah. This is a okay card. Uh, I think it's very hard to evaluate. The reason I think it's okay is because if you just ignore like the really hard things to do and you just focus on the things that are easy, it's decent. Right? Like 1 mana to get 2 cards later on, like it's not great. It's okay. You're not going to be super sad about that. Maybe like if you have a curve already where you played one maker on 2, your Scorpion on 3, right? Not only are you completing the quest, but you're also generating cards. 4, I don't know. I don't. There's some 4 mana card maybe,
Hysteria.
but like if you ignore the last stage, you can probably generate a 7 and 8, like just by the nature of how control praise works. There's draconic studies, like a million ways to get to the 7 and 8, and then if the game goes long enough, you can win the game,
Mhm.
which is good because priest should win the game. You can compare this to like a better Cthulhu. Um,
Yes, yes.
that's really all it is. So it's okay. It might not be optimal to play in control priest because you are down that 1 card, and which you don't really want to do. But then you can just maybe you mulligan the quest. I mean, that has been a valid strategy in the past, where there are matchups for certain control or for certain quest decks where you don't want to play the quest. I mean, you want the extra card. So for that reason, I could see it seen play, but I'm not sure. I won't say it's optimal to do so.
I am also on the same. I'm on roughly the same wavelength. I think it's an okay card. I'm more optimistic than you are, though. Um, it is a quest line, so it does take up a card in your mulligan. But if we look at the first reward, the quest is actually pretty easy to complete, I think. But if we look at the first reward, it's Thrive in the Shadows, which is a 2 mana priest card that does that effect. The rewards effect to discover a card from your deck, and this would basically be a 1 mana delayed Thrive in the Shadows, and that's okay. That sounds okay. Um, you are incentivized as a priest to play on curve. You have Wand Maker. You have um, You have Hysteria. What's the 3-mana card? Why? Venomous Scorpion. That's what it
Venomous
is.
Scorpion.
Yeah, you
And
have you
4
have
mana,
cards to
you can
fill
play the
out
Pirate
these.
Lady.
Say again.
You could play the Pirate Lady on 4, the 4 mana 5/5
Yeah, the four
scoundrel,
mana five
whatever.
five South Sea. South Sea. What is it?
Cap scoundrel. I don't remember.
South Sea Scoundrel. That sounds correct. But yeah, there's just ways to fill out the 2, 3, and 4 mana uh, requirement very easily. Um, six is Light Shower Elemental. 7 is Soul Mirror. So we're really looking at the 5 mana and the 8 mana slots to see what we want to do with those slots. It does seem really tough to complete this entire quest line. But the quest reward is very, very powerful. Zyrella the Sanctified, a 5 mana 7/7. This one has taunt. The all the other ones we've seen so far do not have taunt, and playing a 5 mana 7/7 with taunt is a lot better than playing a 5 mana 7/7 without taunt. This is a significant keyword difference. So being able to develop Zyrella is and be safe while doing so is a very, very big bonus for this quest. And of course, Purified Shard is really good. My proposal when I first saw this card for the 5 mana and the 8 mana slot were 5 mana. I think Talon could be an attempt at a 5 mana card. The 8 mana card, we could think about Primordial Protector. Um, Primordial Protector being able to pull a Soul Mirror from your deck, which would fulfill the other half of this requirement, playing a 7 cost card. It also does clear the board so that when you do fulfill this, your opponent is starting with an empty board, and then you can play Zyrella on them. So that's a really comfortable curve idea. But it's just like, do we really want to be playing Primordial Protector in a Quest Priest? Like, what if we end up with that in the Mulligan? Then you kind of have to hold it until you get through to phase 3. Really weird, hard to build. We could just end up discovering these cards, these cost cards. Like, we could just discover a dragon with Draconic Studies that's 9 mana. Then it reduces to 8 mana. We could do that. I'm not as big of a fan of that idea. Um, but yeah, I like this card. I think it's a much better Cthulhu. Cthulhu did see play. It was suboptimal, but it did see experimentation many, many, many times by many different pros. So this is conceivably playable.
Yeah. Yeah. I just to add to that, like I think people on day one are gonna build a quest priest deck with the idea that they want to fully complete the quest. But I think that this card is much better. Like even that just to like discover the outs because 1 mana get two is just I mean it's fine. Like if you use it to get 2 cards for free, it's fine. And then if the game goes long enough, I'm just repeating myself. Point is, don't build a deck. Don't build your deck to complete this quest.
You don't think so?
It's probably gonna. It's no. I think it's significantly worse than just playing Control Priest.
I think maybe including at least one of each cost card, like one copy
I
of
don't
each cost
think you
card is
need.
good.
I don't think you need to. It's good enough. If you get to stage 2, it's fine. You can do priest things and then figure it out. Like forcing the quest is where the deck becomes bad, and then you become like Cthulhu. The reason Cthulhu is bad, right, is because you're playing 6 mana cards that
Mm-hmm.
you don't really want to play.
Five
So
mana
if
cards. Yeah.
5, yeah, sure, 5 mana cards that you don't really want to play, and yeah, I
I,
I just want to avoid that
I
as a priest.
to summarize, I really like the fact that this card exists because now priests can actually, if they wanted to, end the game instead of just generate more cards and try to outvalue your opponent. You can just destroy the enemy hero. But yeah, next priest card. This is Call of the Grave, a 1 mana priest spell. It's a shadow spell, and that is relevant because of Benedictus. Call of the Grave, 1 mana. Discover a Death Rattle minion, and if you have enough mana to play the Death Rattle minion, trigger its Death Rattle. Um, this card I have to give an okay to, um, because it's a shadow spell. Like solely because of that, I have to give an okay to it. Benedictus, any support you can find for Benedictus, so basically any shadow spell, that's reasonable, is a good card. I mean, is an okay card by itself, just on that alone. I do actually think the effect itself is decent as well. Discover a Death Rattle minion is a value generator, and if you have enough mana to play it, triggers Death Rattle. Most of the Death Rattles in the game are actually decent effects. It's just that they are too slow to activate because you have to play the minion, then you have to like find a way to kill the minion. So being able to trigger the effect right away does make most of these Death Rattle effects pretty good. Um, but I struggle to see where this would see play other than specifically a Benedictus style priest. It is a very strong card. It is a very, very strong card. It is a very good addition to the Wand Maker pool now that Renew is gone. So this does kind of replace Renew a little bit. It does an okay job at doing that, but you're probably not going to want to put it into a deck other than Benedictus.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is I agree. I think this is an okay card. Maybe you play this in Control Priest because the Discover mechanic and just having stuff to do is what Control Priest. It's really how Control Priest works. In the absence of the quest, or even with the quest, maybe you discover things that completes your quest. There's a lot of options here. In the pool of death rattles, there's only one that is a strict negative, and that is the 4-mana death rattle that deals 5 damage to your face, I believe. I think it's 5 or 7. Some ridiculous number. Just don't generate that one. The other ones are either are like reasonable. They put things in play, or they add something to your hand. Oh, there it is. Deal 5 damage to your hero.
Yeah.
Don't pick that one for obvious reasons. But there's a lot of death rattles that, just add something to your hand, or they summons put something in play for 1 mana, like summoning a 3/4. I'm looking at Skystalker right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty good. If you get Care and it summons a 5/5, that's pretty good because you're paid 1 mana for it. You can just ignore the card in your hand. It's fine.
Yeah.
It did its job. And if you do play it, it's fine. It's also fine.
Yeah. If you
There's very little downside
yeah.
of what that 1 mana did. So I think it's okay. It might even borderline good, but I don't want to go that far yet until I see more things.
Yeah. If you could just like trigger, if I told you could trigger the death rattle of any of these cards with 1 mana, and it didn't even need to be in play, I think that is a really good way to describe how strong this card is. Like if you were just on like 10 mana and you played this card and you found a Plague Protodrake, you now have a 7-cost minion in play for 1 mana. And not only that, you have a Plague Protodrake in your hand. So stuff like that. The other cards are actually all decent as well. Like for example, Smug Senior. Like you might even pick this just to add a 5/7 ghost to your hand. Like if you pick Smug Senior, you have three 6-mana 5/7 taunts basically ready to just like value, like outvalue your opponent. Talon's a very decent pick. Then you just draw your biggest minion. Claw Machine's actually a really decent pick. This is actually a really high power card in Arena, and so if you just generate cards like this, you will definitely have higher tempo plays coming up, and that's just really good for Priest as you get toward the end. But more importantly, what are some good death rattles you can find for low cost? Devouring Ectoplasm's actually decent. Death Head's Cultist is decent. I mean, then you're really just kind of actually playing Renew. You heal 4 to your hero for 1 mana while discovering a Death's Head Cultist. And that's pretty reminiscent of Renew. Things like Loot Hoarder drawing you a card, Thalnos drawing you a card. For 1 mana, drawing you a card and adding a Thalnos/Loot Hoarder to your hand. That's a good effect. And Nerubian Egg also, just a 4/4. That's decent. These are all decent effects.
There's also some fringe uses that are pretty cool. Explosive Sheep, deal 2 damage to the board for 1 mana. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's fine. That's
just a really good effect for 1 mana. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good for 1 mana. And it's not just 1 mana deal 2. It's 1 mana deal 2, add Explosive Sheep to your hand.
Yeah.
That might matter. Showstopper is pretty good too. Like that silence and fringe uses it's pretty powerful. And Shadow Spirit, maybe you hit your opponent in the face for 3. That matters.
Yeah, I mean this is actually a decent card to discover as well. Lightshare Elemental, really good to proc this death rattle out of nowhere and then add a Lightshare Elemental to your hand. Reliquary of Souls is actually not even irrelevant in this case. Shuffling a prime into your deck, this prime is really good.
Yeah. And that might actually be one of the worst ones because it's not really an immediate effect. But then again, you play 1 mana 1/3.
Yeah.
Right? And that with lifesteal, and then they have to kill it because it's the apotheosis thing, right? Where you buff this with something dumb and then you kill the full.
Yeah, also just putting yourself deeper into or not deeper, putting yourself out of fatigue range is decent too.
Yeah, maybe I changed my mind. I could see this actually being good. There's no downside I see to really playing it, to having this card.
Okay. So Called Grave, okay and okay. Yeah, I think it's pretty solid.
Okay.
Very curious to see how Benedictus interacts with it, and I'm sure if Benedictus is in a deck, this is in a deck as well.
Yeah.
Along with it, I hope. It's gonna be kind of weird to see Benedictus in a control deck, and then Call of the Grave just gets omitted because it's not good enough in the control deck.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's not really a control card because it can provide a lot of tempo at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, now we're on to Shaman.
All right. Is this mine?
Yeah.
Okay, Overdraft is a 1 mana shaman card. It's tradable. Unlock your overloaded mana crystals to deal that much damage. Um, this is hard to picture because right now, how you overload in shaman, it's not really a thing. I'm just looking at the two popular shaman decks. They don't really play any overload cards that I can think of. I could be wrong about that. I think the 3 mana deal three, summon a 3 mana card that overloads one. But if you're really playing this just to overload one card, it's not really that big of a deal. There's Doom Shaman, which has Lightning Bloom, but that's you overload two for the next turn, and I think that Doom Hammer, right? That's the big one. Doom
Doomhammer.
Hammer overloads that deals two. I'm just thinking how much damage you actually can do. The damage is probably not very relevant. You spend 1 mana. If you do Doom Hammer overloads two. You're spending 1 mana to unlock two, deal two damage, and you get one extra mana back. It's okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's really the direction we want to take with Overdraft. It's also not a nature spell, which is huge.
huge, very
Very,
huge.
very weird card. I think the effect is great if you can. I mean, obviously, if you can take advantage of it, it's. I'm gonna say this is bad because I don't know where this goes. Because we got this elemental thing, we got this nature spell thing, and I'm just gonna jump the gun and not even say this is okay, just because it's not a nature spell. There's no real overload stuff
It's
that
really
that I see.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I could change my mind. Like if there's crazy overload stuff, this obviously can be good. But if this was put into the game today, I don't think this sees play.
This is actually not that great of a card right now. Yeah, it's just I think it's I'll give it okay. I'll give it an okay. I will be on the fence a little bit about this, but it is definitely leaning towards bad. This is a 1 mana version of Lava Shock, and
Mhm.
that was a really good card back many eras ago of Hearthstone. But it is just not what we are doing in Shaman right now. We're not overloading. You're so right. Like the elemental shamans, both of them are not really. Neither of them are really running too many explosive overload cards. You're not going to be overloading for much. Doom Shaman is overloading for quite a bit. Like for example, if you Lightning Bloom into a Doom Hammer, you are overloaded for. And Lightning Bloom itself is probably just a good card to go with Overdraft. It's really whoops. It's really just that it really ends up most of the time being a lightning bolt, which is okay. It's okay, but by most of the time, I mean when you are overloading, it becomes lightning bolt. Otherwise, it's just a 1 mana draw one. Activate its tradable effect, and I really don't think that is what you want to run overdraft for. It's probably going to be a good card in the future, but
Mhm.
I'm really not sold on it right now. It's not a nature spell. You mentioned that already. Primordial Dungeoneer is very no, not Primordial. Primal Dungeoneer is a very very important card to Shaman right now, and you need to be running very strong spells. Like the spells you run have to be serious. Where is it? Where it's so deep. Oh yeah. The spells you're running, if they're not nature spells, they have to be really, really important and very, very strong. And Overdraft is just not strong enough to really be a non-nature spell in those decks. Um,
Yeah, like Shaman right now is avoiding devolving missiles because it conflicts with Primal Engineer. And uh, devolving missiles is just such a powerful card. Right? And if you're willing to avoid that, you're probably going to avoid this as well.
excellently done, Taco. Devolving Missiles is an excellent segue into the other Shaman spell that got revealed. Tiny Toys, a 6 mana Shaman spell. Summon 4 random 5 cost minions. Make them 2/2. So that stat line, make them 2/2s. Uh, this card, I think, is very likely to be good. I think it's a good card. Um, and I think it's a good card because of Evolve Shaman. It did get some play. It got a little bit of play right after the mini set was released because of Primal Dungeoneer being able to fuel your card draw and hand to be a large enough size. Um, and also it tutored, more specifically, it tutored for Custodian that way, and Custodian was able to draw a Bogspine Knuckles for you to have it on time. So that deck is actually really good. If it just needed more things to evolve, and Tiny Toys is just an excellent example of things that you're evolving. Um, so when you play this on 6, if you had Bogspine Knuckles equipped the turn before, you're making 4 6 cost minions, and that is 3 more 6 cost minions than you should have by turn 6. So it is a very explosive, cheaty card with box by Knuckles, and also 5 cost minions are actually not even that bad. Most of them have very strong effects, irrelevant of their stats, and you can see that if you ever play Rogue or Mage in the past. Jandis is a very, very strong minion, had to be nerfed to 6 mana this expansion, and she made 5 cost minions, and they were very excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, on the subject of 5 cost minions, this card actually doesn't have any bad rolls. And the reason is because the bad rolls are just plain 2/2s.
Yeah.
So unlike Jandis, like if you get the 5 mana 1/1, it's a 5 mana 2/2. Because the card says it summons 5 mana cards as 2/2s. There it is, Blood Herald. So
Yeah,
there's
1/1.
though the bad rolls are just like average cards that you would have gotten anyways. And the good rolls are incredible because they have an effect on top of being a 2/2. So what this card actually does in a vacuum is it's decent. This is going to have the same problem as the card previously, where it's not a nature spell, so you can't play Primal Engineer, which is one of your best card draw options, or you can still play it, but you just run that risk that Primal Engineer tutors this, which if you think about it, might not actually be a negative because this is something you do want in your Evolved Shaman. Evolved Shaman has that problem of it's just a high roll deck. So when you don't high roll, you don't win. And then when you do high roll, which is rarely, you have this incredible board that's unbreakable. I don't know if this puts Evolved Shaman over the top. I think they need like maybe a few more things to get there. Um, Maybe more evolve cards. Don't just rely on Box by Knuckles. Maybe like a 3 mana something like Desert Hair, but please don't bring Desert Hair back ever again.
Not Desert Hair.
Um, yeah,
I do
I'm
think
gonna
that
say this
Revolve works very well with
or
this.
Revolve. Yeah, Revolve is pretty cool because you get the stats back.
You get the stats back, yeah. You get the same.
Yeah.
You get to basically re-roll all of your effects, but this time you get stats as well.
Yeah.
I do think that card is strong enough to be included in spite of Primal Engineer. But and this is one of the strongest cards that we've seen for Evolve Shaman. Like, I mean, yeah, this is like the only card we've seen for Evolve Shaman so far for this calendar Hearthstone year. But I think this is a strong card for that. Did you? I didn't actually catch your rating on this. Do you think this is
I'm
bad?
gonna
Okay,
say
good.
this is okay.
Yeah, makes
I
sense.
don't, and reason is okay is because despite it being very powerful, I don't know if it sees play in anything Shaman wants to do just based off what we're seeing right now. We have this very strong elemental Shaman thing. I don't know. I don't think you just slot this in there. There needs to be
No,
some kind of
no, no.
evolve thing that they're pushing
Yeah, it needs
for
to be
this
Evolve
statue,
Shaman, probably.
or some kind of mid-range, like game that gets to that six, turn 7 where your power spike comes. But I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, let's move on though.
Okay.
This is you.
Shiver Their Timbers. This is a 1 mana warrior spell. Deal 2 damage to a minion. If you control a pirate, deal 5 damage instead. This is a bad card. It does
Oh,
damage to minions. So if you're playing pirates, it doesn't even go face, right? It's 1 mana deal 2, 1 mana deal 5. I don't know. There's no pirate warrior in standard that I can think of because there's no one. Is there a 1 mana pirate card that you can actually curve into? I don't even know if
yeah,
that
yeah. Of course,
exists.
there is. There's the Bloodsail deckhand. It's the
Okay,
1 mana
so
2/1.
there's no 1 mana pirate card that you want to put in
Not
there.
no 1 mana card that we think is really good, or has
Yeah,
seen. There's no 1 mana card that we've seen that has seen play.
like the pirate curve. There's no pirate warrior deck that I think of. I don't think I don't know. I don't think this sees play anywhere.
So this is exciting because I actually disagree with you completely. I'm on the other hand. I think this card is good. This is a very, very powerful card. 1 mana deal 5 is that's a lot of damage for 1 mana. It does have this pirate
It's still
like
damage to a
requirement.
minion. Like,
Yeah,
does it change it because it doesn't go face? It's
yeah,
just the 1 mana deal two to a minion
yeah.
or deal
It
five.
is different because, and it's not going to be run in your. It's most likely not going to be run in your typical pirate deck, but it is a really, really good card for Control Warrior. Control Warrior is already playing Sword Eaters, as all warriors should be. They're already playing the Sword Eater. They could easily go and play Stonemaul Anchorman with Sourfang. Get some rush / frenzy support in there, and that is already 4 pirates in your deck. They were already interested in attempting a Sourfang idea, so it's four pirates in your deck, and this is basically a 1 mana coerce, and that is really good. 1 mana coerce. This is cheap removal, very, very high impact removal. I think that a control warrior at the very minimum would love to consider slotting in Shiver Their Timbers. And a Control Warrior is actually doing decently right now, if I remember correctly. It is okay.
It's the best deck if you delete Demon Hunter from the game.
Yeah. Demon Hunter just put on a little too much pressure for the control decks to handle. But yeah, this is a really big card for Control Warrior. And now moving slightly away from this card, we do kind of see a direction that they've given to Warrior. This is very exciting for me, at least, because a dev did mention that the Warrior Quest is the Warrior Quest line. This expansion they think is very powerful and very likely to be viable. So we see that since we're getting pirate support, we have a slight indication that pirates might have something to do with the Warrior Quest line, and that does come in line with the other dev comment, which was that the Warrior Quest line is aggressive. So we might see some kind of pirate quest warrior coming up soon. And this would be a great card in that, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, that's it? Nothing? Nothing else?
Yeah, I don't have any bad.
We just disagree. And I'm interested to see if this will be sweet in that deck. Next card is this one. And this one is Lothar. Lothar is the warrior legendary of the set. That isn't the quest line. 7 mana, 7/7. At the end of your turn, attack a random enemy minion. If that minion dies, gain +3/+3. So Lothar, I originally looked at it and I thought it was a very boring card. It looks really lame, but I do think that it at least gets an okay rating. And this is a very it's honestly barely okay. It's getting barely okay as a rating for me. Very easy, very likely to just slip to bad. And I think it's okay because it's a 7 mana version of Runaway Blackwing, which is the 9 mana 8/8 that just deals 8 damage to a minion at the end of your turn. This one attacks the minion instead. So like if it attacks maybe a 1/3 randomly, then you get a what is it? Stats 10. You get a 10/9. So a 7 mana 10/9 that removed a minion. It's actually really decent. It's not bad. This is never going to go into a warrior deck. It's not going to be a late game win condition that warrior is going to want to use. Just because they have Rattlegore, they have like Troublemaker, they have Runaway Blackwing is actually a very decent one. I think Runaway Blackwing is likely to be better than this. But yeah, like if we're talking about a big warrior that's cheating out minions, you definitely want any of the ones that I mentioned beforehand. If we're talking about any other warrior, control warrior is going to want just Rattlegore. Probably the rest of the cards need to be dedicated toward controlling the board. And I don't think that any smaller curving warriors are going like lower curving warriors are going to want to include a 7 mana card that doesn't go face in their deck.
Yeah. I agree. I think this is okay. And just to clarify, like the Runaway Blackwing, you're not going to play Runaway Blackwing, but when you do, it's a deck with commencement. It's not like, oh, I'm going to slot Runaway Blackwing in my control warrior. And in that case, yeah, that's true. Runaway Blackwing is just way better because it's a better card when mana cost doesn't really matter. Lothar, yeah, it's that thing that we talk about a lot where it's developing while removing, or specifically Dara talks about a lot.
I love that.
When this kills something, it gains stats, right? It exists on the board and it took something out. So and it's a threat on top of that because it gained +3/+3. And then on top of that, it's threatening to kill more things, so your opponent has to deal with it. They can't just like end their turn. Right? Because what happens, you go face and then you probably kills a secondary minion or something. They have to deal with this. But I don't know if this sees a place in any viable warrior deck at the moment.
Mhm.
It's not really something Rush Warrior wants, and it's borderline something maybe Control Warrior plays. Be really weird if they did.
It could be a second Rattlegore. It really could be kind of weird.
Or like a mid-range Natalie Celine that's more of a threat
so
to
weird. It's really not as bad as I think I made it out to be. On the Discord discussions,
but it's probably not competitive play.
It's honestly just kind of lame. I just didn't really want this to be the Warrior Legendary. It just reads really lamely. It's not really an exciting effect or anything, but it's a good card. Okay, it's an okay card.
Yeah, it's okay.
I just don't think I should be giving this bad, or like I shouldn't have talked it down too much. It's an okay card. Yeah, it's an okay card. I wouldn't be surprised if this sees play, but it probably doesn't. Okay, that's kind of what I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's yeah. But if you played it, not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, it's just kind of like they also just don't have threats on 7 mana. Like they have Troublemaker on 8, Rattlegore on 9. So like it's up to what the meta is like. If it's like a faster meta, you might want to put in Lothar as a 7 mana win condition instead of Rattlegore. Maybe. I'm not sure about it though. But yeah, let's move
Yep.
on. We're on to the neutrals now. This is your card.
Elwyn Boar. It's a 1 mana 1/1 death rattle. If you had 7 of these boars die this game, you equipped a 15/3 Sword of 1,000 Truths, which is a really funny weapon for multiple reasons. The weapon is a 10 mana 15/3. The mana cost doesn't really matter because the death rattle equips it for free. Um, it's 15 attack, 3 charges, and after your hero attacks, you destroy all your opponent's mana crystals. There's a really funny South Park reference in this card. But yeah, this is a bad card. I don't think you can build a deck around this, and the reason is, you're playing. You need to play 7/1/1s. You're playing 2 mana. You're playing 1 mana 1/1s that don't really do anything. You need them to die. Your opponent's never gonna kill them, so you're trading your 1/1s into your opponent's stuff while they're building a board and hitting you in the face. And by that time, you equip the sword, but then you don't really have a board. So what you're gonna to hit them in the face, you're dead on board. So I don't think this works out. It can work out. There's going to be a lot of trolled-in videos about it. Very funny card, but not competitive viable.
This card is hilarious. I think it's really cool. It's definitely it's. I guarantee you, this is the meme card of the set. A lot of sets just randomly have a really meme looking 1/1 epic, or like or just an epic actually in terms of Desert Obelisk. That's a 5 mana epic. That's a meme. But this is definitely the meme of the set. It is better than Desert Obelisk, and it is better than Mogul Cultist, which are its epic meme brothers. But that's really not saying much because they're all memes. This is never going to see play seriously. It is a really cool looking card. Just the fact that you get a 15/3 sword, like that's just so funny. Like we've never seen this stat line on a weapon before because it's broken. But like also it just like destroys your opponent's crystals. Like that's ridiculous. Um, I will say that even after you do put this Sword of 1,000 Truths together, you're not even guaranteed to win. Because your opponent still has minions on the board probably, and so if you swing at their face to deal damage and destroy their crystals, they might just be able to swing back at you with all their minions on the board. It's not really like you have any minions yourself. Like you got to dedicate a lot of resources to proccing these boars. So yeah, I'm not. I'm certain. I could tell you right now. Like I wasn't. It wasn't. I was never going to call it viable. But like after I talk through it, it's even less viable. It's really bad. It's just funny.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. And we're moving on now to the card that I picked to review this week. This I like this card a lot. Cornelius Rome, 6 mana neutral legendary. Oh, by the way, that Bora is a neutral. By the way, I don't think we said that. It's a neutral minion, neutral
Right.
beast. Cornelius Rome is a neutral legendary, 6 mana 4/5. At the start and end of each player's turn, you draw a card. I picked this card and I think it's so cool because it's kind of like the next version of Voracious Reader. Voracious Reader, really, really broken card draw engine for aggressive decks. Was nerfed to 3 mana from 2. And this is a mega version of Voracious Reader. You draw a lot of cards very rapidly if this isn't dealt with. And also it's not conditional like Voracious Reader was. Voracious Reader demanded you had an empty hand, or rather demanded you had less than 3 cards and then you dropped to 3. This one's just a Mega Turbo Engine. It is a lot of mana too, and another reason why I picked it this week was because I'm just not sure if it's good or not. I'm leaning on the fact that it's good. I actually think it's good, but I could be very wrong and look really dumb when like the expansion releases. I just think it's a really strong neutral draw engine for any deck that is wanting that at all. Maybe like Face Hunter, I think could really easily slot this in. Just remove any one card, put this in, and then you have basically another Barak Kodobane. Like you at least draw 2 cards. When you end your turn, you draw a card, and your opponent's turn starts, so that you draw another card. So at the very minimum, this guaranteed draws 2. So it's a 6 mana 4/5, draw 2 cards, a guaranteed. And then maybe it'll draw you more cards in the future. Anyone that looks at this, when they see this, is going to have to kill it no matter what, because it's just too efficient of a draw engine if they don't kill it. So it actually has taunt as well, kind of a little bit. A lot of good things for this card. I'm not sure if the mana cost is just too high for it or not, though.
Yeah, I agree. Like the stats for costs are a little bit lacking, but Face Hunter is already playing Brock Codebane, which is a what 5 mana 3/5?
5 mana 3/5. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It's which is horrible stats anyways. And the thing about killing this is that they have to kill it because if they don't kill it at the start of your turn, you draw another card. So it draws 3 cards. It's like one extra card that you're giving your opponent if you don't remove this from play. And cards like that,
Oh, it's 4 cards
very
now.
similar to Lothar, where it's not just powerful because of what it does when it comes into play. It's also powerful because your opponent has to do something about it. I'm going to lean and also say I think this is good.
I'm gonna correct you a
I'm
bit. You
very
said 3
confused.
cards. It's the start and end of each player's turn, so you actually get four
Right, which is
cards because they end their turn
oh
and
right,
your
it's
turn
4 cards,
starts.
right? Because you get that other card at the end of your turn, right? Yeah, so you're giving your opponent 2 cards by not killing it.
It's a
If you leave
lot of
this up, you're
cards.
giving your yeah, which is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous amount of
It's
cards
ridiculous how many cards you
if
get
you
from
leave this
this.
up. And yeah, and you just always play it. And because worst case scenario, you drew 2 cards and your opponent burned some removal, or they traded off their board to kill this. I don't know if they'll actually do that, but I'm gonna say it's good. I also think it's good. I don't know where it goes, but a draw engine like this has to
It's
see
too good
play.
of a draw engine to not see play. At some point,
Yeah, and
this is a card that is guaranteed to see play. I think at some point during its standard lifetime, it has to see play. It just can't. It just can't go unplayed.
right. I agree. And the other thing about like Voracious Reader, disregarding the fact that you have to empty your hand, Voracious Reader was good because it cost 2 mana and you were playing an aggressive deck. But we're now in a place in Hearthstone where aggro doesn't really mean what it did in the past. And what I mean by that is that if you look at aggro Paladin and Forge of the Barons, it played 5 mana cards and 6 mana cards like Hammer of the Naru, Blessing of Authority, and it was still an aggro deck because its game plan was to hit the opponent in the face as quickly as possible. What I'm getting is that you can play heavier, like the curve of
Yes.
what decks are, especially in modern Hearthstone. I feel like are a lot higher. It's a lot higher than what it was in the past. Like we have Rogue playing a 9 mana finisher, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely the right thing to do to play Alex Straz in Rogue. So I don't think the mana cost of this is a negative, given the direction of what Hearthstone is right now compared to what it was in Skullman's Academy.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's a bit slower, and you curve a lot higher.
Yeah.
Slower in the sense of
I think
yeah of
what you were
how
trying to say with Secret Paladin that is just that it just had so many ways to draw cards and sustain card advantage that it could afford to run these higher cost cards and kind of like draw just other cards to kind of play while you were waiting for your higher cost cards. And so it just like that aggressive deck just had initiative and it had a way to refill its hand. And I think this is just this as a neutral is just an excellent way to refill any aggressive deck's hand when they get low on resources. So I don't see any reason why this is not going to see play at some point. Um,
Yep.
as soon as like release. Um, right. Let's move on. And again, we could both be completely wrong. This could just be too much mana. Period. But
Yeah,
I
I could also see that happening, but I'm gonna bet that this is good because that's
I
so much card draw.
yeah, I love picking cards which confuse me. Like I feel like I'm pretty sure about like this seeing play, but like if I'm wrong, I'm gonna be a little confused. But yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna aim to do every week. I'm gonna aim to just pick a card that confused me. Like just
Wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong. Like it wouldn't shock me because 6 mana 4/5s are pretty
yeah.
bad. But anyways, moving on.
Moving on.
We have Varian, Varian.
Varian,
I don't know.
King of
King
Stormwind.
of Stormwind. It's an 8 mana 7/7 neutral legendary battle cry. Draw a rush minion to gain rush, and you repeat for taunt and divine shield. So if you pull off all the keywords, you get an 8 mana 7/7 that drew 3 cards, a rush, taunt, and divine shield minion. And the card itself has rush, taunt, divine shield. Uh, Very similar to Siamat, without minus the Wind Fury. This is actually a card that confuses me because it's kind of similar to the previous card. This is a ton of
It
card
also
draw.
confuses me.
Also good on board. I think this will see play sometime, just because of what like all those keywords added up together is really powerful on top of the card draw. This is a huge swing if you pull off all 3 keywords and
It is
like kill
really
something on
good.
the board, have a top minion. It's very strong. I just don't know what plays it, but I think this is a good card. Um, Unlike the previous card, uh, this confuses me, but I don't think with the information I have right now, I can say it's a good card because I don't like I don't know what Divine Shield, like what the Divine Shield card is we're targeting.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
Maybe just do Rush and Taunt might be good enough, but not really. I really want that Divine Shield. Like the
yeah.
keywords on this I care about the most are Rush and Divine Shield. The Taunt, whatever. If I get it, I get it. If I miss, although there's plenty of Taunt minions. So yeah, it has to be okay. I'm gonna say this is an okay card for that
You think it's
reason.
okay? So you downgraded from good. You said good a few seconds ago.
Well, it's a good card in the sense that in a
Okay,
vacuum, but
no, I'll give you
sure.
the okay. I need to write these down so that when I edit, it's not horrendous.
Yeah,
Um,
it's an okay card.
yeah, I think the same. It's the card definitely reads like a really strong card. Um, it draws you 3 cards. That's a lot of cards at that point in the game. It has Rush, Taunt, and Divine Shield most likely because you did probably build your deck to maximize it. Um, but I'm not, I'm not actually sure about that. Do you even build your deck to maximize it? If you don't have a good Divine Shield minion, would you just drop it? It is an 8 mana card, so you might, if you include 1 copy of Divine Shield minion, you might draw that Divine Shield minion before you draw Variant, before you even get to play Variant, because it is 8 mana. That's a lot of mana. And then it just doesn't have Divine Shield anyway. So like it poses a very interesting deck building question. How stretched will you be to run a Divine Shield minion? Um, is it good
Yeah,
enough if it's just Rush and Taunt? I think so.
I
Still,
think it has to exist. Like the Divine Shield and Rush, those two are the most important. They have to exist, or else this card can't be good. And that's because an 8 mana 7/7 Divine Shield Rush is what you really want to pay for 8 mana to put it in your deck
CMAT. It's
on
CMAT.
top
Yeah,
of Draw 2.
the
Yeah.
strongest CMAT
I mean, I
combination was
guess
Rush
maybe I'm
Divine
wrong.
Shield.
If you have Divine Shield Taunt, it's fine, right? Like you can do that.
Yeah.
You just need something to keep yourself alive. So either you kill something or you prevent
So
yourself from dying.
here's the question: if you got any combination of 2 of these keywords, do you think it's good? Like Rush Taunt.
Not Rush Taunt. Rush Taunt would be the
Rush
worst, but
Taunt's
that's
the weakest
also
one, right? It's still
yeah, that's
decent
the
though.
weakest. Yeah, I think two of the three, as long as it's not Rush Taunt, like anything with Divine Shield is really
Taunt
good.
Divine Shield is good, and Divine
Taunt
Shield
Divine
Rush
Shield,
is
yeah,
very good.
it's good. Yep.
Rush Taunt is definitely the weakest one of these 3 combinations, but that's not even that bad. But it also draws you 2 cards. Like so this is a really cool card. I'm also on the okay train.
You know what, Rush Taunt? You're right. It's not horrible, right? We've had Rush Taunts before. They were fine.
We've had Rush. I mean, Rush Taunt is Rusty Raider. You know, Rusty
Rusty
Raiders.
Raiders, most recent one. We've had Amani Warbear.
Amani
I think
Warbear.
Amani
Yeah,
Warbear. I saw play at time. I don't
it
remember.
did. It
I
actually did.
vaguely remember. Like it's fine, right? Like you kill something
Yeah.
and you prevent yourself from dying. Maybe I'm wrong. Like it's not. It's still the worst, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
If you get 2, I think it's at least good if you get 2 of these keywords. If you get one of them, it's bad, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's bad. It also drew you 1 card, so it's
Yeah.
not that good.
It's okay. Yeah, actually, that's not even that bad because it's just another neutral draw engine, and I think that's pretty solid. I like that they're printing draw engines in neutral, so that any class that just does randomly have a Rush and a Taunt minion might be interested in including a Divine Shield. It comes with a package. Variant is a card that comes with a nice, neat package. I will say that if this were printed today in Forge and the Barrens, that Rush Warrior would actually be interested in running this. They
Rush
already have a
Warrior, you
Rush minion.
get
They have many Rush minions. They've got a Taunt minion with the Sword Eater, and they've got they could just put in a Divine Shield minion. And the one that I talked about most with other people was Darkmoon Dirigible,
hmm.
and I think that's decent.
Yeah, but the card itself doesn't have Rush, so you can't really tutor it out
You don't need to.
with. Well, I'm saying you lose that option, right? You
Yeah,
lose the option of tutoring it out. You don't get the athletic exercise discount. You don't need to, but it's there. It's doesn't synergize in that regard. It draws you a card. I mean,
it's Watley.
Watley. Maybe you still play in Rush Warrior because
It's
you play
Watley.
Watley.
Yeah,
It's it's like a
it's
yeah,
a
it's about
Watley
the
for
same
8.
power level as Watley.
It's a Watley
Yeah,
for 8 mana, and the I think the combo of 8 mana this into 9 mana Alexstrasza Face is a really big combo. Because then you're threatening 15 damage. If as soon as you play this and it gets like all 3 of the keywords, you remove something, and then you're threatening to like actually hit them for 19, no, like 15 instantly.
yeah,
I think that's really
yeah.
cool. This is just
I
such a
realize
strong card.
the biggest problem is the 8 mana cost because it's competing with Troublemaker.
It
So
is.
you're going to
That's
play
true.
3 mana. Are you going to play 3 mana, 3 8 mana cards to compensate for that? Maybe you do because card draw is a weakness of Rush Warrior.
Yeah,
Usually that's how Rush Warrior loses, is that it
they run out of
doesn't
cards. Yeah.
runs out of cards.
I,
With
I
that
just
in mind, maybe play all 3.
Yeah,
I don't know.
potentially.
I have to see it in action.
I really like this card though. I'm only giving it an okay because I'm just not sure what deck is going to be left in the air and like kind of have enough slots to fit in the package. But I'm sure some deck will. I'm okay. I'm not sure. I'm not positive, but I think a deck might be interested in running a whole package for Varian. Okay,
Yeah.
that's this set of cards. We did get two more cards revealed as we were talking, but I think we just slot those into the next episode. I didn't really get enough time to review them, and I don't think I trust myself with like a first impression of the cards. So yeah, I think that's the end of this episode. Do you have any closing remarks?
Um, go through all of them all quick. Yeah, not really. The closing remark is still just to go back that what well designed.
Yeah, I do. I
Like
do
these
like these
cards are
cards.
really well designed where they're very interesting cards. We got a lot of interesting
We
cards
did.
that are really bad, but people are gonna want to play them. Like Elwyn Boar, people are gonna play that day one. The Sheldress Moontree, people are gonna play that, and the Priest Quest. People are gonna build a deck around that, trying to OTK their opponent. These cards have very, very flashy effects that end the game, or I don't know what Sheldress does something flashy, and they're bad. Like they're not gonna win, so you're not gonna feel bad playing against them. But the person playing it is gonna have a lot of fun trying to get their combo
I
off.
think we got a
Um,
lot of very shiny new toys, though.
yeah,
I
there's a
agree.
lot of shiny toys. They're not very good, but that's
I'm
okay.
really excited because I really truly agreed with you when you said that you weren't having a lot of fun in the Forge and the Barons meta, and I think I told you this as well. It just like they didn't there was not enough bomb cards in that meta. Cars that just did so much when you played them. And I think we do see a lot of examples of just mega bomb cards right now. Like Seek Guidance is a huge bomb card. Like just destroy the hero instantly. A bomb Varian is such a big bomb. Like just 8 mana 7/7 rush taunt divine shield just slams a minion out of like existence. Draws you 3 cards while you do that. It's crazy. It feels so powerful when you do that.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the bomb, the competitive bomb, which is my biggest complaint
Cornelius.
about these 18 cards. They're not that exciting. Like card draw is really good in the sense of like making your deck consistent. I'm just looking at Cornelius Rome, but it's not really exciting. Like it's not like a Galakron where it generates a lackey and the lackey generates a spell and the spell gives you like 4 dragons.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did that. But those are things that I kind of miss in the modern Hearthstone game where it's very vanilla. And maybe that's just what we're doing because Ben Lee said, this is the year we're taking Hearthstone back to its roots. So
You
yeah,
don't like these?
maybe.
I think a lot of these
Maybe
cards
that's
are
what it
big
is.
bombs. Like even Call of the Grave is a decent bomb feeling card.
Call of the Grave
Yeah,
is
that's a really strong effect. It feels good.
uh when it no, I don't know. I can't agree with
You don't like it?
that.
I like these cards, man. I
It's
think they're
okay.
big
It's not a
bombs.
bad card. It's exciting.
I think if Cornelius and Varian see play, I think we're in for a really exciting expansion. They just feel like good cards to activate.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna shake up the game in terms of how it feels.